being unapologetically attractive.
I'm gonna tell you about a woman whose heart is sunshine, whose body burned hot. I'm gonna tell you about a woman who's cold as tundra, with some frozen eyes. I can tell by the way she moves that she cares.
Well, welcome to the C-Note Show. It's 11:01 here Mountain Time on Wednesday, May 20th, 2020. I'm going to open up with a Kevin James short here in a moment, and I've got clips from American Pie. I've got 2 clips from American Pie, actually. I've got a TED Talk lined up for today. It's going to be an awesome day. Welcome, Cynthia. Yeah, say hi to our men today. Good morning.
Good morning. It is so incredibly good and great and grounding for me to see all of you. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Cynthia. And, we are here because we are men that want to understand modern relationship. We love women. We love relationship. And we want to know how to be, what to do, how to have those mindsets, and what tools am I going to use so I can be respected in relationships, so I can respect myself, so I can be attractive, and so I can have better sex than I've ever had before. Or guess what? Start having sex again. That would be great. We have a lot of men here that have no physical contact. Maybe they're separated in the same home, or they're separated in different places, or they're trying to reconcile, and intimacy isn't there where they'd like to be yet. And so Cynthia and I are happy to jump into this topic because she and I have faced this in the past as well. We got together in our late 30s, and we've both, had divorces and separations in the past from tough situations. And so while I smile and say that, it's because our show, we have laughs and we dive deep. We have fun and we talk about real shit in this show today. So let's buckle up and get ready. Cynthia, you ready?
Yes, always.
Phenomenal. I've got a Kevin James short again to open us up, and then a clip from American Pie, because it can always, like I could say, it can always be worse. And really what I want to say is we need to be prepared for what we want next in our life. And ideas are great. Okay, this Kevin James short is about an idea, and ideas are great, but how do we execute on that? What plan do we have? We're here, guys, because we want to plan for ourselves, our vision for ourselves, and for our relationship, and how to lead as a masculine, modern, calm, mojo-filled man today. So let's take a look at Kevin, and I want to get some feedback from you guys on maybe where he went wrong.
Hey, Marty.
Hey, what's up, Reg?
Me, very late last night, celebrating with a pecan pie, taking it deep into the eve.
Yeah, what are you celebrating?
Life. I'm out of here. Sorry, but yeah, I didn't want to break it to you, but I was thinking about it. If you do what you love, you will never work a day in your life. I don't love this.
Yeah, not a lot of us do.
But what do I love? I love Jimmy John sandwiches. So I opened myself a Jimmy John shop. I'm going to do it in Virginia Beach.
Wait, you opened up a Jimmy John's in Virginia Beach?
Opened up a Jimmy John's in Virginia Beach.
Wow, that's huge. How long have you been sitting on this,
like
man?
A week and a half, just, mustering it around, throwing it in the head.
So you thought about it for a week and a half and just, bam, pulled the trigger on a brand new Jimmy John's.
Celebrated last night, pecan pie style.
Wow, how did you come up with the franchise fee?
What?
The franchise fee, how much was that? Because usually that's pretty steep, man. Good for you. Good for you, man. You pinched pennies, you scrimped, and you saved. Did you pay the franchise fee? Reg, if you haven't paid the franchise fee, there's not going to be a Jimmy John's. Did you just think they were going to let you open one and then you'd, pay them back? And you've been thinking on this for a week and a half, and it never occurred to you that you would have to give them something before you opened up a store?
I got out of my apartment. I'm out.
You can't stay with me. You cannot. That won't be happening again.
I love how he does the chair goes back. He says exactly that. It's so funny. Oh my God. So big dreams, but didn't know how to follow through. And that reminds me of being in relationship, to be honest, right? The next thing to do is get married. And yeah, okay. like, I'm going to get married without any research, without any understanding about modern relationship, without any, so without paying the Jimmy John's franchise fee, we haven't done the work of knowing how to have the three forms of confidence: behavioral, emotional, and spiritual confidence within our relationship and within ourselves. Right? So Cynthia, I'd love for you to share with us. Open up your mic and share. So that man had ambition. Kevin in the skit, I don't know his name in the skit, has ambition, and yet he doesn't know the pragmatics of how to follow through or the real world situation. So have you been with a man like that in the past? We're very open about our past here on the show, guys. We're coaches. We're not therapists. We're coaches. And so we share our own shit here as well, right? And our own successes. So Cynthia, have you been with a man that was ambitious but didn't know how to follow through? Or have you seen that in one of your clients? Did you have a story about that? Or if that brings up something for you, please share with us.
Yeah, I was in a relationship with a man who, really did want to have a big impact on the world and really wanted to make other people's lives better. And that was so attractive. But he didn't have the pragmatics, and he was really hard on himself about that he didn't have them. And so he had a lot of ways that he would kind of collapse in, I think, not feeling confident in himself. And his collapse was actually one of the reasons for our breakup, because I would reach out to connect with him through intimacy, verbal intimacy, physical intimacy. And he was so in self-judgment that he couldn't even be in that with me. So that was really hard to watch.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That reminds me right of our theme of this week, which is how to be unapologetically attractive. And the story of this man that you just told is he wasn't unapologetically attractive, right? He wanted big things, but he didn't know how to follow through with them, like Kevin James on that show. And so here's our theme of the week: being unapologetically attractive. How do I be respected versus being needy? Is our subtitle. How do I be unapologetically attractive? So here's our question to start us off. Apology, question mark. Apology? Part of me wants to apologize, but she's doing better and is being kind and reaching out somewhat. Every time I apologize, it makes it worse, and she lashes out. I'm thinking maybe I just let go. Maybe my actions do the talking. She tends to throw apologies back in my face, and though it seems counterintuitive to me, maybe I change my approach and apologize via my behavior and actions. So that last line, I really wanted to ask your thoughts, Cynthia, on this. So there's many layers in here. I have a TED Talk about this today. I have another funny clip about this today as well. So every time I apologize, it makes it worse. And maybe I should change my approach and let my behaviors and actions do the talking. So Cynthia, how would a man comes to you and he's interested in one-on-one coaching, which you and I both do, professional coaches. And he says this to you: it seems like it gets worse when I apologize. And I want to apologize. I want to be better with my behaviors and actions around this. Where would you start with this man in one-on-one coaching?
Yes. So I would first say an apology when the feminine has been really hurt. Having someone apologize to her in a very heart-centered, taking responsibility but not taking blame way is one of the most healing things. It can just wipe the slate clean if there's groundwork before that. I would never as a woman want to say to a man, hey, yes, apology would be great. And then he gets all the backlash and it's worse and worse. And she just loads on to him. I would say go forward with the changing of the actions that feel in your truth first. Build some of that trust and intimacy with her. And then at a time when you feel clear and are not blaming yourself and are not attached to her reaction, that's when you might offer, hey, I really wish this had gone differently. I really want to do this differently in the future with you. And I really apologize how that came across. So that's like heart centered, that saying, I'm so sorry in this space between us that got hurt and bruised. And it's not so much saying, oh, like I'm so wrong. I shouldn't have done that. That was horrible of me. So that's the difference I would like to offer to him about that.
The difference between collapsing on oneself and having vision for the relationship is what I was hearing. That was one part. And another part is to understand where he is within shame or within guilt as just even a person prior to coming to them and wanting to connect with his woman. And I want Jason to open up and share here in a minute. I have a clip I want to share. Jason had a big conversation, which was phenomenal on the closed forum, our Great Men Move Mountains forum. So Cynthia, is that what you're saying, that he needs to be aware of his own motivations, whether it's the relationship or just trying to supplicate himself, and to do his, so I want to say do his best, and then we're going to unfold this during our show today. So what are the tools that he can use to not be in shame? What are the tools that he can use to know where his grounding is in the man that he is? We'll use those today. So is that what you're saying? Or is there another key piece there of him not being in shame and wanting to connect for the relationship?
I think those are the two pillars. And I actually just had this experience with a gentleman just 2 days ago. There's something in a year ago that happened in his relationship that at the time, because he felt ashamed by it and was judging himself, he never really talked to his wife about that. And a year later, he did exactly that same thing of, I know my worth. I know where I stand. I'm not attached to her response. But he even just texted her and said, I'm really sorry that happened. And in that moment, I wish I would have said this to you instead. And their relationship happens to be in their separated state. But she responded to him saying, oh my gosh, I really appreciate that. It's kind of too late for our relationship, but I really appreciate that. I mean, she said, I appreciate that twice. So I just want to offer that your powerful place of doing that can heal a lot.
Phenomenal. Thank you. Jason, please jump in and share your thoughts. You have a lot to say around how to apologize and when to maybe apologize. Could you add on to what Cynthia was saying, please?
I love the fact that Cynthia brought up connecting to your heart and knowing why you're apologizing, rather than just where we get a lot of times into that defensive mode of I didn't do anything wrong or I want to fix this right away. Just instead of trying to make it go away, dig deeper and fall down into where, oh my gosh, yeah, empathy, I hurt you. Wow, I don't want this to happen again. What I think a lot of times we do as men is that we feel that our words are going to mean more than they mean, and we don't recognize the beauty that is sitting across from us. And part of that beauty is this wonderful world of emotions, or feelings, I should say, that once we acknowledge are true and real and is core to that beautiful being across us as possible, and recognize, hey, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. Doesn't mean we're wrong. Doesn't mean that everything around that situation didn't happen, but recognizing I hurt you. Yeah. And just, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings is a huge step forward, and then dig deeper. What else about that? Oh, so when I said this, you felt this. I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. Shut your mouth. Don't justify and go on. I mean, that's been my experience. In relationship, Alison Armstrong brings it up in her seminars. I've tried it. I've worked with it. I've done variations to see how much you can mess up. But just as simple to me is always heartfelt. I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. Has always worked. And at the beginning level, it's just you do what works. Later, it really becomes a part of you. It's awesome.
Yeah, Jason, I want to bounce that off Cynthia in a second. So, Jason, I saw you in the forum, right? You cannot say these other variations like, I'm sorry your feelings got hurt. Or what are the other variations that don't seem to work very well, even though in your logical brain's like, oh, that's close. Like, I'm not going to admit that I did anything wrong. So I'm going to say this. Share some of the ways you can fuck up.
Yeah. So when I said this, you felt this. So you were interpreting that I meant this. So therefore, no wonder your feelings got hurt.
It's like the Socratic method trying to apologize there. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been slapped, slept on the couch, not talked to women ever again.
Because you tried those? Is that what you mean?
I've tried them. Yeah. Yeah. They don't work.
You reeled the story back in. Oh, I'll put that back in. Oh, I love it, Jason. Thank you so much. Cynthia, what's some feedback on what Jason was saying, please? By the way, I took notes. So, Cynthia, what's your feedback, please?
Gosh, I am very humbled by you, Jason, and the perspective that you have and the practice that you have. It made me as a woman just feel really good and seen and understood. And it also made me go, it's on both sides, right? I have caused pain in my partnerships. I have hurt people's feelings. And when we can, from a really solid place in ourselves, an open-hearted place in ourselves, a confident place in ourselves, apologize for that, to me, it's like a weight lifted. It's a brick I get to take out of the jacket I'm wearing. And how nice to know that we don't have to be perfect, and just in the nature of humanness that we will hurt someone's feelings at some point in our lives.
Such a good point, Cynthia, that we cannot achieve perfection, and so holding ourselves to a bar of never hurting someone else is a nice guy trait, right, Jason? So if my goal is to never hurt someone's feelings, yeah, I can see you. Everyone else can't see you. Give us another 30 seconds on the nice guy and apologizing, and then I'm going to bounce to something else forward here.
Okay, so I threw No More Mr. Nice Guy in the trash twice because it pissed me off so much that it was me. The statement in the book that made me the most upset was the only thing the nice guy fears is his emotions and everyone else's. And that was so me. A gift that I would give in this realm is that the exercising curiosity about your own feelings. Wow, where is that coming from? And standing back from them and not let them rule you is, in relationship, one of the most powerful things I've found.
Exercise and curiosity about your own feelings. Yeah, I'm typing this down.
I don't know if that makes sense now, but yeah. Once you're able to step back and going, wow, I'm experiencing anger right now, rather than my entire body, my entire being is angry.
Yes. Oh my God. I was just telling a man that yesterday. I'll jump in 2 seconds on that. So a huge evolution for me in 2015 was going from I'm angry at you to I'm angry. Okay. That was a fucking revolution for me. Now, obviously I needed to work on it, and we talked about that in other shows. I've shared about how I, manage my anger and my Hulk here from the boardroom. That's my anger. I call him the Hulk. But yeah, going from I'm angry at you, you did this, I'm the victim basically to what happened, to I'm angry and I can own my shit was huge. Thank you so much, Jason. I want to share too as well some notes that I took while you and Cynthia were talking about apologies here. And again, you guys are welcome to screenshot this. I'm totally happy for you to do that. Cynthia and I, and for instance, Jason is another coach in our forum. And when Andy's on here as well, he's another moderator in our forum. He's not here today. And then there's some amazing men that I pull ideas from, and I won't be able to name them all, but Patrick is here again. Love you, Patrick. Rob, of course, here again. Randy, John, Joseph. Like I say every day, I'm not going to be able to share everyone's name. Chris, I see your hand up. I'll call on you in a second. Thank you. And maybe Anthony will come on today, or I love when Brett comes on. We've got Chris and Hussein's on here again. Harry, Ian, awesome. Love you guys. Both Jason's, Jonathan's here again too. So I want to share what I took notes on, and then I'll call on you, Chris. So maybe I should change my approach via my behavior and actions. And Cynthia and Jason both said connecting to your heart and knowing why you're apologizing. Instead of trying to make it go away, dig deeper and having empathy for yourself and for her. Because you don't want this to happen again either for yourself. You don't want this to happen again for yourself. You don't want this to happen again to her, let's say. And you don't want it to happen for your relationship. Right? So having empathy for all three of those entities. And once we acknowledge her true, real feelings of the, and Jason, I was typing fast, so the true, real feelings of the beautiful being across from us by saying, hey, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. What else would you like me to know about that? What else about that? And then mirroring what she says, not being a parrot, but mirroring the last 1 to 3 impactful words, as Chris Voss would say in the book, Never Split the Difference. It's a book I've mentioned on the show before. He's a retired FBI hostage negotiator. Amazing book, fun listen, in my opinion, cool stories, and also a lot of pragmatic tools to use in relationship and such, and in conversation and communication. And one of those is mirroring the last 1 to 3 important words. Okay, the person said. Not parroting, but trying to mirror back to them. And then Jason's money shot. I'm sorry I hurt your feelings, and then shut your mouth. I love it. So we're going to get into, when I should maybe go ahead, Jason.
I just want to bring up one thing, because I can feel the men immediately going, but I wasn't wrong.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say too. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. I mean, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings has nothing to do with about the situation. It's you're sorry the person across from you is hurting.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you.
So I just wanted to bring that in, because that is so dangerous to get into that trap of I'm not wrong.
Yes. Yeah. Do you want to be right, or do you want to have a connected relationship? Is something that we have to decide. And she's not sparring on the level of logic. And I'd love for Cynthia to jump in. I know I'm putting Chris on the back burner for half a second here. But so Cynthia, there's a difference between I'm logically right and I am refusing to acknowledge the emotion that I've influenced in the other person, right? And that's a complicated scenario too. Like, did I make her feel bad? Is that her responsibility, right? And what's my responsibility in the relationship is a question that I want to ask you, Cynthia. So give us some feedback on what we're saying right now. Like, it's not my fault, I'm apologizing for hurting her, but I didn't do anything wrong, in my opinion. So share with us from a woman's point of view for that.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, that is it's a sticky slope, a steep slope when we're feeling maybe resentment that the other person would react to us that way, like the injustice of it. Maybe it even seems disrespectful. Like, how could they think that? How could they be feeling that? And again, if we have relationship here as like this glass bowl in the middle of us, this glass sphere, and we're tending to the energy of this, there is nothing kinder and more nurturing and more, even like as a turn on, because you're going to make your woman feel just seen and understood, is to like say, hey, I'm sorry, in this space between us, there is pain. And that is not that does not, A does not equal B. Just because there's pain does not mean that you did anything wrong. And it probably, there's pain because it connects her to something when she was a kid, when she was a teenager, or a past relationship. So when you're offering empathy, compassion to someone when they're in pain, you're offering them a chance to be compassion and heal a wound in them that they probably have had with them for quite a while.
Such gold. I love it, Cynthia. It's just because there's pain doesn't mean you did anything wrong. So Chris, can you unmute yourself and jump in, please? Thank you for being patient. Let's see if I can, yeah, go for it, please. Hey, there he is.
Yeah, I guess I just really had more of a clarification or a question, but it was kind of answered really. It's really about, because I'm more of like, I kind of talk from an empathetic way about saying, I'm sorry you felt that way. But I still have empathy for her. For me, it was more, I don't want to become a victim to her situation or her pain. I understand that I know that she's feeling that way. I just don't feel, I'm not sure if this is wrong, but not that I'm the cause of that, right? But I'm empathetic. That's how she's feeling.
So yeah, thank you for that.
She's a child, and that pain is because she's a child. She's angry because of something I said because of the child. I'm not really. She's angry at me now for this, but I'm only a circumstance of where she's at, right? I get that she's angry or hurt.
So what would your question then be about that?
There was just no question. This was more about, it sounded like the way the approach was maybe doesn't come off as empathetic, I guess. That's what I heard, but you guys had spoken and it was more clear for me.
Yeah, Chris, let me help with a question. You tell me if this is close or if I'm far off. So I care about her feelings, but I don't want to be responsible for necessarily having to fix it. Is that part of the question?
Yeah, like I don't want to be the more of like, it's just kind of separating that. I get that that's how she feels. It's kind of, we're two people. That's how she feels. It's not becoming part of the drama maybe of her, how she feels, right?
Yeah, good. So what I was feeling there is that how can I differentiate what's really my responsibility or what I'm doing for the relationship and what is maybe not my responsibility so it doesn't seep into the rest of the week or the rest of the relationship? Is that closer?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I get that. And I guess I can hear too, if you can easily say that by just saying, oh, I'm sorry you feel that way and walk away with no empathy, but you do really have to feel, it's kind of an escape as well. So you have to really understand how they're feeling to get there. Because I know sometimes I'm probably just as, I was just as guilty of saying, oh, I'm sorry you feel that way. It's not my responsibility. You deal with it and walk away. Right?
Yeah.
You deal with it. That's on you. But, understand, obviously with listening to all you guys, you have to become more empathetic with,
Sure, Chris. Yeah, I love you jumping in. This is fantastic. And also, this is not an easy answer, right? That's why this feels complicated. So I love you jumping in. That's really great. So, Chris, I'd love to give you some feedback. And then, Cynthia, please, if you have another question, jump in or just unmute yourself and be a part of the conversation. I'd love it. So, Chris, yeah, one thing that you acknowledged that we mentioned and Jason mentioned is I'm looking at the notes here, to be able to dive into her real feelings, okay? Acknowledge her true real feelings. So she's really feeling like you did it, okay? And we have to acknowledge that reality in this moment. So and you always, a good rule of thumb, and Cynthia will agree with me, you want to add on right now, okay? She's really feeling like you did it. She's really feeling like that right now, right, Chris? So acknowledging that, and Jason's point is if you try to dodge that or logically get around that, she's just going to feel like you're a fucking asshole. Like, you don't really care about me. You're just trying to dodge this. You're trying to play a chess game. Okay. So we can be in that moment, and I'll share this again really fast. We can be in that moment of having empathy for her, right? And empathy for the relationship. And we can be there with her in that moment. Like, oh my gosh, I'm really sorry that I hurt your feelings. Do you feel that too when I say it like that and then I pause?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I'm really sorry that I hurt your feelings. Like, what else would you like me to know about that? Is there anything else underneath that you'd like me to know about? So do you see what how many
Well, yeah, no, I get that.
sentences? Yeah, I said like 2 sentences, right?
Well, I would have phrased it, I'm sorry your feelings are hurt. Would that not be empathetic?
Well, the little smile on your face is telling me no.
Well, I'm being honest. Yeah.
Well, so the way you said it, no,
Right. I got you. For sure.
right?
You're right.
Yeah, and
I get
I'm making a point. Like, we've all heard that the words we say are 7% of communication, whereas our tone and our body language is the other 93%. So if I say, I'm so sorry that your feelings were hurt,
Gotcha.
like I actually give and I do care. By the way, if you're like really great at faking it and like being a liar and things like that, that stuff's going to catch up to us. I could totally fake it, but
Mm.
that I would have to step back and think, do I really care about this relationship if I'm totally having to fake this and care about her? Or do I need space myself? I work with men, Chris, that like don't want anything to do with her right now. Like and I can relate to this as far as maybe she cheated or you feel that she was violated her own integrity, the integrity in the relationship. And you're like, I don't want anything to do with this person. If you're in that mode, then you aren't prepared to be empathetic with her, right? We can't hate and have empathy at the same time.
Yeah.
So Cynthia, please add on to that. I'd love for you to put a cherry on top. I mean, and add to the conversation too. You can put a cherry on top too. I mean, we can save the cherries for another time, but
Okay. I love what you said, that we can't, hate and be empathetic at the same time. And in time and space and relationship, it is okay to take space, um, to work through like the anger, the resentment. How could she be saying this and doing this? That is more powerful and more honoring to your relationship in that moment than trying to fake it, or like, Jeff and Cynthia said I should do this, and she'll feel that. And so you are allowed to take space, and that might feel like there's a lot of tension and discomfort in that space between you, and that's okay. Relationships, when we're growing and changing them, they go like that. That's just what I want to offer.
yeah, thank you, Cynthia. I appreciate it. And so over to if I'm feeling really escalated, that's why we're doing the boredom exercise. This is to process what's going on for us. And we developed this over all of last week. We talked about this tool. It's in our show. So Chris, yeah, is there anything else that you wanted to add or another clarification? I love your involvement in the show, please.
No, that's good. I'm good. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Fantastic. Thanks for speaking up. Thanks for raising your hand. Very cool. So I want to share a clip. I will right now share a clip from Kati Morton, who has almost 1 million followers online. She's a therapist. I found a clip of hers where she's talking about saying thank you instead of always apologizing. So sometimes you can say thank you for the other person pointing out something or caring about you, instead of kind of almost being self-centered and apologizing and trying to placate the other person. So I've got a clip about that right now. And then Cynthia, I'd love for you to honor some of the chat that's going on after this clip. So I want to show this, and then we'll jump to some of the chat that was mentioned and keep moving forward in our show here.
What my therapist had me do next is to work on my confidence.
So she's a therapist, and she's talking about she's actually working on this with her own therapist, is what she's saying.
I know that may sound off base. You're like, wait, we're talking about sorry versus thank you. Now you're talking about self-confidence. But if I felt the need to apologize for just being or existing, I obviously couldn't really think that highly of myself, right? And working on my self-confidence did help a ton, but I still found myself saying sorry just way too much. So this is what I'm currently working on at the ripe age of 35. We're all works in progress, remember? Is that I'm trying to be okay with the idea that I cannot please everyone. It's simply not possible. I mean, just think about it. If two people disagree with what should take place, what does someone like me do? If I don't want to upset either of them, I'm kind of frozen, right? I can't really do anything. I will have to displease one of them. And through all thinking all this and working on this, you know what I've really learned? That it's actually most important that I myself am pleased. And yeah, that's the truth. One of my favorite quotes or sayings is, you can't light yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. And I'm just really trying to remember that and to have healthy boundaries around what I will do or not do for someone else, and truly what I will do for myself.
So I can't light myself on fire to keep someone else warm. Like, super cool quote. She said who that was from. I didn't catch it. So I'd have to look back, or I'd have to search that to see who originally said that. But I can't light myself on fire to keep someone else warm. It ultimately matters that I'm pleased with myself. Okay. And I can be pleased with myself and have empathy and apologize to her at the same time. That's a huge theme of this show, and a huge theme of questions is, well, how do I do this when this is happening? And usually the answer is you can do both at the same time. Right. So Cynthia, if you jump into our chat, there was one thing that I believe Jason had mentioned here too about responsibility. It's still her responsibility.
It's, it's still her responsibility to be aware of herself. It's her responsibility to make herself happy. You're just acknowledging your presence in her world. That's awesome.
Yeah. So give us some feedback on that. So saying we can acknowledge that we hurt her feelings and still hold the energy of she's responsible for herself. So in other words, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just showing up as the man that I want to be in relationship, and apologize if she does really feel like I hurt her feelings right now. Give us some feedback on that, please.
I think that goes back to our theme about, being unapologetically attractive. We are never apologizing for who we are. It's never up to me to apologize for the most, most feminine energy in me. And if that came across, wrong to someone else, it's not your job to have to apologize for your masculine presence that might come across differently to the feminine. It's just an acknowledgement that emotion is in the soup between you. And it really does we hold on to our pain and our hurts and our frustrations. And I'll say most and women do, until they feel like it's understood. And as soon as it's understood, it's understood. She understands why I felt that way. We can let it go. And so, and I'll still say, I like what Brett said. I never like saying I'm sorry. It put me in a lower position relative to the other person. Yeah. And it's not about subjugating. It's not being at a different level. And actually, I've seen Jeff do a video where he's like, you as the man, you hold your energy higher than her. You hold that hierarchy, and you can, be in that place of I am the leader, I'm the man, and still acknowledge the emotional space there. If you feel in a grounded place, and that's a good thing to do.
Yeah, thank you. And in reference to that, so in the book Wild at Heart, which is a Christian-based book, just so you're aware, he quotes a lot of scripture and Old Testament as well. But I love my main thing from his book Wild at Heart, John Eldridge, is he said, a man must have an adventure, a battle, and a beauty to behold. He must be on an adventure, he must have a battle to fight in the world, and he has to have a beauty to behold. And so if I'm on an adventure and I'm fighting a battle, I'm focused over here, my energy must be high for me to have spiritual confidence in the world, in what's my mission right now, to have emotional confidence to face this battle that I'm fighting, and to have the skills in that, right? So if my energy feels up here and I turn, and in my relationship, her energy is down here, I want to be able to relate to her, but that does not mean I should bring myself down to her level, quote unquote, of mood. And I certainly shouldn't be in a worse mood when I come home just to try to make her feel better about it. Absolutely not. Yeah, and Jason or Brett, you were saying that was an ego thing in the past of wanting to never say you're sorry. So, guys, there's a channel out there called Alpha Male Strategies, and he's got like a zillion followers, and he beats his chest, not literally, but he basically says you never apologize to a woman. She's always in the lower power position, no matter what. Even if you cheat on her and she catches you, you never apologize. Okay, so that shit's out there, guys. Like he's got like how many followers he has, I don't know. Like super popular. That's not what we're about here. Okay, I'm not about just like power play, manipulation, keep the other person on their heels all the time, not knowing where they are. You know, all this like dark secret bullshit that you hear out there. He's really popular. Okay, and that's fine if you want to go that route. But I want relationship as well. I'm not just trying to keep. He has a rotation of women. He's really happy about that. You know, he's got like 4 women he rotates or whatever. If you want that kind of thing, go over there, right? That's definitely not what this channel is. It's definitely not what we're trying to learn here, right? We want to learn about how to be a mature, calm, grounded, mojo-filled man in relationship with an amazing woman. We want to know how to lead so she wants to be a part of our adventure. Okay, she's not our battle. She's not our adventure in herself. She's our beauty to behold, and she wants to be along on our adventure. So, Cynthia, how does that hit you? First of all, you know there's other crap out there like that, right? And how do you feel about our channel being so different? Share a little bit from your soul about why do we do this? Why are you here, and how are we different?
That's a good question right now, because I actually feel with this particular conversation, I feel vulnerable because I'm like, I don't want, I want men to release the burden they carry, that they have to, fix it, always be perfect in relationship, always be the perfect leader. Like, oh, like she was, she got hurt by that. And that somehow means that I am, not being the protector, provider, and feeling inadequate because I can't fix it. Like I love this channel. I love this show because we do talk about the things that are real in relationship dynamics that have such ties to not only who we've all been, but who we've been as human beings from caveman and cavewoman days. So I feel like this is courageous conversation, and it's a great way to do things differently, and to also talk about the things that kind of exist below the surface in all of us.
Yeah, I'm going to jump over. I was quoting you. I was typing. So women hold on to frustration until it's understood. That was a huge one that Jason and others in the chat mentioned was a home run. And then you just said something like, I want men to release the burden of always being a perfect being. She got hurt, so that means blank, this negative thing about myself. So add to this for me, please. So she got hurt, so you don't want men to assume this negative thing about themselves. Yeah, add on to that for me, Cynthia.
Yeah, I did not understand until working with Alison Armstrong's work what honor means to all of you, and how seriously you take wanting to fix things, wanting to be protector, provider. Her story about, a man's honor means that if he's sworn to protect you, you could be saying the worst things in the world to him. You could be like, I'm leaving. I've never loved you ever as a woman. And the saber-toothed tiger jumps out. Suddenly he's still going to protect you from the saber-toothed tiger. And that blew my mind, that's the kind of energy you work with. And so I feel like it's my privilege to say it's okay if the woman in your life gets hurt, angry, frustrated, disappointed. it's a human experience, and it's an opportunity for you both to grow together and know that your honor is, your honor is as powerful in that relationship space between you as it was in caveman days, and you were literally slaying the saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah, that honor, especially of the men here that come to that are attracted to Great Men Move Mountains and this work. We love them because of their integrity and honor and compassion and heart, and they want good things in the world and in the community, their community, and in their family. So in the chat, yeah, Kevin says, yes, when I've done something wrong, an apology alone is not what she wants. She wants me to understand how what I have done and said has hurt her. So there's the understood again, right? She wants to hear it from me and not have to tell me, right? And so that's where the tool of asking, what else would you like me to know about that? Or what is underneath that hurt for you? It's really important for me to understand. That's a tool that you use that you're not saying, well, how did I hurt you? Okay. It's obvious that she's hurt. Right? And so you're asking those other tools, well, tell me more of what's underneath that as well, please. I'd like to know. I really want to know. It's important to me. She wants me to be able to hold that with confidence and not feel bad about myself for doing or saying something wrong. Love it. So that's both at the same time. You can honor her and apologize for hurting her feelings, and you can still feel confident about yourself and not that you are wrong in your being, as Cynthia is basically saying. Okay, you may have made a misstep in your skills or your behavior around relationship or how to interact with her. You may have made a misstep, but that makes you a human. That makes you a human being. Like, welcome to the club. Welcome to the club, guys. Totally. Yeah, and Jonathon Insel made a great point, and I want to share. So I want to talk about his comments after I share a bit of a TED Talk here. So to set this TED Talk up, someone is expecting an apology. If you're expecting an apology from someone else, or you're wanting to give an apology, what's a way to do that feels connecting and compassionate without giving away all of your own self, without bashing yourself or saying that you're a bad person in doing so? So let me share a bit of this TED Talk here. This is from, let me actually honor where I got the TED Talk from, and I'll share. So the Kati Morton one right here, here's her name. And this one is called Stop Apologizing, Say This Instead. That's the clip that I showed a little bit earlier. And then here's the next clip I'm about to show right now. This is from Harriet Lerner, is a clinical psychologist. So she's a PhD psychologist and a New York Times bestselling author. And her TED Talk is Why He Won't Apologize. And I'm going to jump to 5:27 here in the TED Talk. So here we go.
Margot told me that she wrote this letter because she wanted a real apology, meaning she wanted her teacher to really get it. She wanted him to get that he had behaved like an asshole, to use her words. She wanted him to be filled with guilt and remorse and to feel as badly, if not more badly, than he had made her feel. If this was Margot's intention, I suggested that she not mail the letter.
So she had mentioned a little earlier that she wrote a single-spaced 3-page letter, basically pointing out how her teacher was an insensitive asshole, and she was writing that 3-page letter to try to get him to like apologize to her, or for her to feel better, or for her to like make him aware he's such an asshole.
Unless her teacher were a highly evolved Zen Buddhist-like person, it would take him about a nanosecond before he shut down. People take in very little information when they're on the defensive, and they don't want to hear what you're saying. And if you go on too long, you're actually protecting them because they will vacate the emotional premises.
She just said, if you go on too long in your apology, they will shut down, become defensive, and vacate the emotional, what did she say? The emotional space. Okay. So if your apology or what you're saying, what you're trying to get across goes on too long, they'll shut down and vacate the emotional space, and it actually protects them from feeling the real tension of the emotions of what's going on. Okay. I was like, holy shit. I had to listen to this again. And so if you talk too much, it protects them because they'll naturally back away from actually feeling the real emotions of the situation. So back to the tool, right? And Jason's point and Cynthia's point and Kevin's point. So if I say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that I hurt your feelings, they have to be in it with me. They're feeling the tension. They're feeling what I'm saying. They're feeling what I'm trying to bring across to them with one sentence. Okay. And then tell me more about that. What's underneath that for you? That's really important to me. Okay. They have to be in that space with you. They don't have to. I guess they could shut down, certainly, but you have a much better chance of them being in that space, being in that tension, and really feeling what you're trying to get across when you talk much less. So Cynthia, give me some feedback on this from a woman. That's one of my recommendations. We do hot seat coaching on this show. We do, Cynthia and I do one-on-one coaching. We're also in the group forum. So we have lots of ways that we help men. And usually and I had this in the past too, right? As we try to pontificate or logic or mansplain our way through every sentence that we keep adding on, we just fucking dig a hole, and it just seems like this guy's just trying to win an argument or he's just trying to be right. Yeah, so give me some feedback on that, Cynthia. When you see that maybe out in the world as well, or in your experience as a woman, do you see that happening when a man talks more and more and more? Do you feel that? I'm not sure what you're going to say here. Go for it.
I'm sorry. I'll have to think. Have I experienced that? So yes, if I go back into a previous relationship, it was actually a situation where the man came forth and said that he had cheated on me with a woman a couple times, and all I really needed in that moment was just exactly what Jeff modeled, and to be able just to respond and share with him. And actually, I had in that relationship found that I really anyways had wanted to move in another direction that wasn't for me. And I even wanted to share with him, like, I so appreciate how we have learned and grown together. And I actually wanted him to not feel guilty, ashamed, remorse. And it's almost like he couldn't hear me in response. So he was, trying to fix his own feelings of what he was going through. And Jeff, when you just modeled this way of doing it, it is such a relief in my body. It feels like another human being in front of me. And it makes me feel safe and seen.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'd love to call on Jonathon, who's a stalwart in our show. He's got a great success story. Patrick has a man crush on him too, but I try not to mention that too much, right, Patrick? So I'd love Jonathon to speak up. He talked about a Brene Brown quote and what Brene Brown speaks about, and then he started to share an example from his life in the chat. So Jonathon, please.
Yeah, so the Brene Brown quote, where she'd rather see me die than fall off my white horse, is actually around a talk she did about shame and men's vulnerability, where women have a hard time handling vulnerable men. That she'd rather see him die than fall off his white horse of the protector, the king of the house. That he's human. He experiences emotions, or at least scary ones. And then I've seen.
Go ahead.
I was actually at my brother-in-law's. It was like last week, and his wife came out and she was really going after him about something, and he was raising his voice and she was raising her voice, and you could tell they were both kind of embarrassed. And rather, instead of, coming together in that situation, they turned each other into the enemies, and they were fighting that battle until one of them eventually won, which, nobody wins in that scenario. But I can apply that in my own life. There's times when when somebody comes to me with something I've done wrong, which, I'm human. I do things wrong. I mess things up all the time. That's part of being human. But I can feel, I know what defensiveness feels like in my body. I can almost feel like, I want to say like armor, like I'm cloaking up with some armor. And so I've learned to feel that and embrace that in my body, and then take a step back and come out of that, realize that, okay, I did do something wrong, but this isn't about me personally. This is about an action. This isn't, John's not a bad dude. That action was a bad thing.
Yeah, John, that's a great point. So circling back to what I said earlier about if I speak just one sentence or two sentences at a time, and I'm really coming from my heart, the tension is, I'm going to feel the tension as well. That's what you're explaining. Of I feel the tension of me wanting to be defensive, wanting to to put my guard up, to put my armor up. And so how do you breathe through that? What do you do exactly? How have you practiced that, John?
I mean, that's a hard one unless you're actually in it, just slowing down, being intentional, my point to get across. So when you, like you said, when you're coming from your heart, when I'm coming from my heart, my heart is reaching out to that other person, and just remembering that connection while I'm in there keeps me from getting defensive. Like, I want this other person to feel what I'm feeling right now without shutting it off and then causing anger or resentment, because then you get the kitchen sinking, and that's not fun.
Sure. So I love that, and I'm going to push in for a second, right? So if I'm in the shit and I've got 3, 2, 1 before the anger like hits me, I don't have time in that exact moment to like, oh, I want to come from my heart and I'm going to think about it, right? So how have you practiced feeling the defensiveness, and then literally what do you do to be able to keep in your frontal lobe and do reach out from your heart? Have you practiced that?
Yeah, well, I mean, that depends too. It depends. If I feel the 3, 2, 1 and I know it's imminent, then I'm just going to say, hey, baby, I really hear you right now, and I need a minute to process this before we continue to have this conversation. And then I can step back and then figure out, where that lies with my nuts, how I feel responsible in it, what that means to me. Then when I go back and have that conversation, it's heartfelt, and it's not anger, it's not defensiveness, it's not pettiness, it's real emotional connection. If I'm in the situation and I can't necessarily get out of it right then I just got to remind myself, just take a few breaths, slow down, speak less words, and that way I can de-escalate myself in the situation.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Very cool, John. You hit on a couple spots that I was hoping that I wasn't sure how that was going to go, guys. This is like, we don't prep when we ask these questions, and they seem to work out really great. So that's good. So John, so cool, right? So I heard I have a how to pull my parachute. I have an ejection plan of 3, 2, 1. Hey baby, I need to take a break because this is really important to me, and I'm going to go process this, and I'll come back with you. We've shared that tool. And then the other one, John, is recognizing that even if you are escalated in the moment, you can take time to breathe. You can take 5, 10, 15 seconds if you need to. You're thinking about it, you're breathing, and really, so I teach this a little bit too. Put your hand on your face and like look down, and then your brain's not really functioning, okay, but you're trying to bring your brain back online. It's like a reboot of a computer. You get the blue screen, you're like, fuck, blue screen. Okay, put my hand on my face, look down, and then all I'm doing right now is rebooting my body, okay? Breathe into my belly. Breathe into my belly. Did you want to add something to that, John?
Oh, no, it's one thing. Yeah, it's the same thing I teach my kids too when they get upset. They'll actually they'll physically sit down and time themselves out. They'll sit down. I just need to breathe for a second. They'll breathe through their heightened emotion and then come back to normal. Because, we always talk about.
Yeah, John, thank you so much. I think you got most of that out. I was about to say, you're a rock star, man, to teach this to your kids. That's so cool. So I've got a really fast story. Now, I want to honor the men. It's 12:01 right now. If you need to go because you only have the 60 minutes, thank you for joining us on our show, the C-Note Show, every day, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Mountain. We've got honestly, Cynthia, our show sometimes goes up to 75 minutes. So that's something that I'm just going to have to embrace and not feel bad about. It's like, okay, our show's going to go a little bit longer today, but I want to honor you if you only have the 60 minutes. Otherwise, I have another clip about how to be an example of being unapologetically attractive. I have a movie clip about that, a 2-minute clip. And I want to move forward here with what we're talking about, Cynthia. So one quick example that I couldn't escape. I couldn't take a break. And I was pissed in the moment. And when I did the tandem and I did the reboot, my body reboot, I told you this story. It was a couple of years ago. So my son has had trouble in school for a very long time, since kindergarten. And that's part of the reason I got into this field in 2008, 2009. I switched into mental health and child psychology and family systems theory and teaching. Cynthia and I started this business about 4 years ago. We've been doing this full-time coaching for 4 years. And so it's about 2 years ago, I'm in a principal's office with the psychologist of the school and me, and my power conflicts with my son are going on like they have pretty much every year. I've talked with the principal a dozen times prior to this about what to expect. He was going into a new charter school, and we're about 3 weeks into the school. I've had many conversations with the psychologist, right? And I'm a professional in the field, so I feel like we're on the same page. And I go in and we sit down. It's me and these two women. And the third question out of their mouth is, so does he always treat women this way? That's what they asked me about my son. Does he always treat women this way? Is what they said. Now, it's been a rare occasion that I've heard such a sexist statement that these women would actually look at me and ask me that question. It wasn't, hey, what happened beforehand? What's the rest of his life going like? Did he have breakfast this morning? Does he always treat women this way? And the fucking pulse was beating out of my neck. Oh my God. I just wanted to gouge their eyes out. But of course, that wouldn't have been very nice. That wouldn't have gone over very well. So I put my hand, I looked down, and I swear they could see the pulse in my neck. Okay. And it's like, reboot. I can't say that. Okay. I can't say that. Let's reboot my body. So I'm breathing. And what I actually said was, I'm not quite sure how to answer that question. Could you ask me a different clarifying question, please? That was a lot better than you sexist bitch, I want to kill you. That probably wouldn't have gone over very well. So anyway, on that note, so Cynthia, maybe there's something underneath that I left out there. I really went down the rabbit hole of my experience in that moment when, to share that tool. But what else would you like to bring into our conversation before we wrap up our show today? We got another movie clip, but what else would you like to bring in before we wrap up today, please?
Well, I want to respond to your story, and I've heard this story. And again, it strikes me that was so infuriating to you and so disrespectful to you because of how honorable you are and how it is always in your mindset to treat everyone, every human being as, provider, protector, holding them up, being the best you can for them, being truthful and honest, being honest in yourself and honest with the world. And I really respect why that was so, made you so furious. And it's crazy because I can rest back into the woman's experience, and I can imagine the story that went into them saying that. And this is why these conversations are so important, because there is no way that woman understood the sense of your honor. And I love how you handled it, because you are not apologizing for the self, but you were recognizing the energy in the situation, and you were guiding it forward. And so I really honor and respect that.
Oh, thank you so much. I hadn't thought of it that way, I was so upset because it went against who I believe myself to be and what I'm teaching my son. So that makes a lot of sense that I may have had an exaggerated upset response because it did feel like an attack against my integrity and the way I'm teaching my son and raising my son. Right. So thank you for pointing that out. That's a great point. Yeah. Yeah, Jonathon, we did get most of what you said. Thank you for trying to come on. And he said he had internet issues, so thank you for that, Jonathon. And Ian has talked about the book, The Chimp Paradox. And Ian says, the book talks about visualizing a big pause button to hit, and it gives your human side time to catch up with the emotional reaction and manage your response. I love it. Yeah, the chimp would have gouged your eyes out. That wouldn't have gone good. I wouldn't be here right now, probably. Yeah, that wouldn't have gone very good. So, Cynthia, thank you so much. Let's honor our men, and then I'm going to show let's see, how long is it? It's about 2 minutes movie clip from American Pie again, I believe. Yeah, American Pie. And this is the clip with Stifler's mom. And so I want to show you what it looks like to be unapologetically attractive, no matter how old you are, right, guys? So let's honor our men today, please, Cynthia.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this conversation and for who you are. It is such a privilege to experience you every day. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, gentlemen, and thank you, Cynthia. This has been fantastic. So this has been the C Note Show, brought to you by Great Men Move Mountains and greatmenmovemountains.com. If you don't yet have our free audiobook, which we released 2.5 weeks ago in the month of May here, you go to greatmenmovemountains.com/free audiobook. You can also go to /contact to get a hold of Cynthia or I directly for one-on-one coaching, which shaves off a tremendous amount of time on your journey. Otherwise, we love for you to utilize our free resources like the book, the audiobook. The audiobook also has a free 13-page PDF accompaniment that Cynthia wrote that are tools that you use as you go along. So you look at the PDF as you go along with the 45-minute free audiobook. Dude, I have not seen a free resource like this out there. We should definitely be charging for this, and we're not, which I'm happy about. People have told me we should be charging for this show, which we're not, and I'm very happy about that too. So we're honored to have you guys here again, all the regulars who who you are. I don't want to embarrass everyone too many times. And Kent is working with me to get an official mug out for our show. On one side, it's going to say the C Note Show, and the other side will have our mountains, just the logo for Great Men Move Mountains. Really cool stuff. So, Kent, thank you for helping there. And thank you guys. We'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Mountain. And I'll take us out with this clip of Stifler's mom.
Are you lost?
Stifler's mom.
So you enjoying yourself?
3 sheets to the wind, man. You have anything to drink?
I believe the kegs are upstairs.
That is what the Cretans drink. I'm talking about alcohol, liquor, the good stuff.
All right. I got some scotch.
Single malt?
Aged 18 years. The way I like it. Why don't you go grab a glass from the bar?
Think I should. Allow me.
Unapologetically attractive, aged 18 years, just like I like it. I looked up that actress. She's 37 in that movie. I don't recall her name right off, but yeah, so she's 37 and likes it aged 18 years. Hey, Rob, thank you. Everybody in chat, I love you guys. Harry, Ian, Hussein, everyone that contributed today. Jason, man, always a pleasure. Absolutely. Brett, Rob. Yeah, I love you guys. See you tomorrow. Happy Wednesday.
Bye.
Cheers.
Whose heart is sunshine, whose body burn hot. I'ma tell you about a woman who's cold as tundra with some frozen eyes. I can tell by the way she moves that she cares and it's lovely.